Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes to change our lives. Kuntres, Mayan, Parak, Tesvav. We'll start by giving tzedakah for the safety and the security of the Yidden Eretz Yisroel and the soldiers and the unfortunate people that are still in captivity. And Mitzvah Hashem, the Zchus of our learning, we should have Mashiach and bring everyone back safely and healthy, and only good. And also today we're going to focus on Sigal bas Esther, and Sigal bas Esther should be healthy and safe. We should have only good news to share. And we're going to stop. I don't know if we should stop, but whatever. I don't know. But Yosef Yisrael and Simcha, Baruch Hashem, back home, safe and sound, which is very good to hear. Okay, so we're going to start off we're going to tell a story about the arrogance of now generation. And really, it's because we're talking so much about arrogance and the issues, and the Rebbe Shab is going to go and discuss this more today, how much of an issue it is. So now I'm going to tell you a story that sort of shows it's seemingly opposite, but I think they're not opposites. You have to just understand it. And this is one of the beauty of Chassidus. Chassidus, when you learn something that sounds different, you have to see how to put it in. It's a perspective. It's like two sides of the same coin. But let's see. The story is like this. When there was a bacher that he was learning 770, and he had arrogance, yeshus, he had a big ego. It wasn't unjustified. He knew how to learn, but he felt like, he really knew how good he was, so to speak. And in Chabad, it's very custom to, people put you in your place. So the Baruch put him in his place and said, you think such a holy person, and all your Aveda, and look at you, you big yesh. And he really bashed him over it, and really to the point where he started feeling really bad about it, and he realized he had this issue. And when it came to his birthday, that he had his chance to go to Nichus to the Rebbe, so he wrote to the Rebbe about this. He wrote this whole thing, whole tzatzel about how he has an issue with his yeshus, and he thinks he's such a big learner and a big davener, and he's all these things. How does he work on it? That was his question. So the Rebbe answered to him a very interesting answer, and the Rebbe said to him, which when you hear it and when we learn what we're learning last few days and also today, it seems to contradict, but I don't think it contradicts. The Rebbe said to him, if you think you're all those things, so be all those things. You think you're a big learner, so be a big learner. You think you're a big davener, you think you're daven ba'aveda, so daven ba'aveda. Be that person that davens ba'aveda. And so it transformed his whole perspective. Meaning the issue of arrogance for us is not the same way. It's not the same way as it was back by the times of Rashab. So for us, if we have arrogance in something positive, so they're saying, so be that person. You think you're such a great person, so express that great person. To put ourselves in our place it's not really called for nowadays, but that's not the issue that we deal with. And that's essentially that's what happened. And I don't know what happened. I'm assuming he kept on going and doing these things, and he did very good. But we have to have this perspective in mind. If we ever come to ourselves and we learn something like this in Rashab, and we say to ourselves, I'm not good because I have arrogance in my thinking that I'm such a good davener, or I have arrogance to think I'm such a holy person. Now, we're not talking about if someone comes and you walk around telling everyone how good you are, but for yourself, it's a motivating factor, and it's a healthy motivation. It's good. We should feel that way. And as you know, I know from experience with kids in school, the most important thing you can give them is that feeling of confidence that they can do it. It's a healthy self-esteem. And this is sort of a preface we have to have when we're thinking about these and learning these things. We should never come and start beating ourselves down. And this is why it's also important to learn things well. Because especially, I remember when I was a bachi, you learn things very one-dimensional. And you don't know it well, you don't have the bina, you don't have the real understanding of it, so you can't apply it to situations. You don't know how to understand it in your situation. So therefore you get lost. So that's why we got to learn these things well. But let's see. So remember, we've been discussing the difference between someone that's able to learn and have arrogance versus someone that's very simple and does things kabbalah soul, they don't understand anything, and they do it because this is what they're meant to be doing. And we showed how, contrary to popular belief, the simple person that doesn't even know what they're saying, when we daven and we learn, or we say Tehillim, we don't understand what we're saying. When we daven, we don't really understand the Pirush Milis. We can't really meditate. We can't really have that connection. We can't. We don't. There's a mylin, there's something special to them that we shouldn't belittle it. We shouldn't say to ourselves, I'm not so good because I don't have good feelings. We should say to ourselves, even though I don't have good feelings, and I sit here every day and I do this, and every Shas Avarachim I sit there and I spend the hours trying to say Tehillim, this is very special. It's very good. It's not to be belittled. Doesn't mean we should come around and say, I'm better than you because I say Tehillim, I don't understand what I'm saying, and you understand, so I'm better than you. That's not what we should be doing. And this is not the arrogance the Rebbe was talking about, that you should have that arrogance. That's not what we're talking about. But we're saying that we shouldn't be, we're showing here that we shouldn't beat ourselves down just because we don't understand something. And the fact that we go and we push ourselves to do the right thing just because it's the right thing, even though we don't feel excited about it, we don't have that emotion towards it. This is very special. And it has a specialness to it that is superior, as the Rosh is saying, to a person that does have that learning and that capability and that understanding and that connection and that feeling. Let's see. And behold, when talking about the Talmud Chacham, the Ben Teir, a person that knows how to learn and connect. So therefore, those people that have been given that ability and they're able to express it, but kasher machzik teir la'atzmei b'zeh shebacha lo ya'aveda b'shkir v'limud ha'teira asher asak b'aveda shebalev v'chol shekein k'shemis yaher. So they do all the right things. They daven, they learn, they connect, but they give themselves the credit. I davened, I learned, I connected. It's like they dig a pit for themselves. And they fall into it. Now, what's the problem when you fall into a pit? You become lower than everyone when you're in the pit. Your head is at the feet of everyone. It's like you live in a Karnite, you live in an apartment in a basement, so your head is on the feet of everyone. When they're going or they're walking on the ground, so they're on a much higher level than you. Okay, and so too in the terms of this person. I know if a gaiva, someone who falls with gaiva, with this arrogance, they fall much lower and much worse than a simple person. That simple person is lacking knowledge. That even though that person that's lacking knowledge is still walking on the ground, whereas when a person has arrogance, they dig a pit for themselves, so they're under the ground. Not just the person with the arrogance is Torah, is nothing, very harsh words, is nothing. Ella shegam tfilasai barichus, even their davening at length, that they connect and they feel it and they're all excited about their davening and they really connect to Hashem. It's incomparable. Mailas ish apashut in comparison to the simple person. That davens and says Tehillim with Kabbalah soul. The arrogance gets in the way. Now, we can ask, and it's a little bit of a ring, and I don't have real time for this, but how is that different than the person that said that he had this arrogance, the Bach in Yeshiva, and 770, and they're ever telling him to build these things? It's a farragon that I can't get into now, but there's a difference, and there's a very big chiluk, a very big. It's fine, but there's a very big difference. That bacher, you could say very simple. That bacher, his arrogance was maybe similar to this, but the Rebbe was showing him how he could transform it as a kailash to do more. Whereas here, It's diminishing you. This arrogance that we're talking about here is diminishing you, it's holding you back. Because you have the arrogance, it's getting in your way. Whereas with the Bachas, the example of the Bachar, it's a catalyst to push him forward. And that's what the Rebbe was using. It could be also a different generation. And the Rebbe was showing that take everything we have and use it for good. And this is sort of a there's the whole all your actions should be for the sake of heaven, which means when you do Torah and do mitzvahs, you do it for Hashem's sake. And then you have v'chol maasecha on all your actions, meaning not just your Torah and your davening, your learning, and all the holy things, but just mundane, eating and drinking and sleeping and going to work. V'chol maasecha l'shem shemayim. In all your ways, you know Hashem. That even those things that they're not Torah or mitzvahs per se, you can know Hashem. And the Rebbe, and we could say the Rebbe is taking this thing of Yeshus, which is the arrogance, which is a negative, and showing how we can make it positive. And this could be for our generation that it's lifting us up to such an extent that we can do this. That's another way of saying it. It's a longing for breaking. But for sure, we shouldn't come and just beat ourselves down. Especially in our generation, I've never seen a person that's really affected positively by doing this. But the point is, what we are bringing out here is what we can bring out from this is we shouldn't be walking on with arrogance and walking around and acting like we were better than everyone else. And we should appreciate that when we have Kabbalah Soul and do the right thing, even if we don't have the feelings and the emotions and the understanding and the real arrogance, we're still good. It's very special what we're doing. And the example and the explanation that he's giving here is wow, the person is davening, learning properly, everything. The person that you look up to, you wish you had that excitement and that feeling and that emotion and that connection and that everything. And you sit there, as so to speak, a Nebach and saying Tehillim, don't understand what you're saying, and you do a Kabbalah Soul. The Rebbe is saying, the Rebbe Rashab is saying, it's Be'ein Arech, you're infinitely greater on what you're achieving than them. Wild. But let's run a little bit to learn a little bit. This is what the pasuk says in Mishlei, Gaiva Adam Tashbilenu. The arrogance of a person lowers them. The Gaiva says Adam l'shafel. The Gaiva makes the arrogance makes a person low. The Chet Hagaiva, and the sin of arrogance, Poigim Bebeis Oises Rishon Hashem Havai. The first two letters of Hashem Havai, the Yud and the Hey, it affects them. In Hashem's name, Ki Gaiva Eila Misparei Tesvav Kimispar Yud Ke. Because the Gaiva, it's like the letter Tesvav, which is like Yud K, the 15. Shapagam and Magia Lebchinas Yud K, that the effect that it has, it affects the first two letters of Hashem's name. Kasher Hashem Izeh Yuvan Inyan and Nefilase Shlei Be'erach V'Dasaklal, and therefore the descent is very, very severe. Sharei Havidasi Al Yidei Bechinas Chachmo Bina Shebenavsho Shehem Gamke Neged Yud K. Their davening and their learning is connected with the Yud and the K, which is the Chachma and the Bina. Yud is the Chachma and Hey is the Bina. They're learning and davening and they're understanding Hashem. They have the Chachma, which is the idea. They learn, and the Bina, they really unpack it, be able to understand it, be able to even apply it. We have Bina Shebenav Shehem Gamke Neged Yud K. Amnam zeh b'chinas Yud K sheben nefesh Adam, but this is by the person, within the person, this level of the person, this Chachman Bina. But the problem is when they have the guy with the arrogance, it doesn't affect their Yud K, but affects the Yud K of Lamaila. Which is meaning, so to speak, Hashem's Yud K, which is incomparable to ours. Hashem's Chachman Bina, in comparison to ours. Meaning Chachman Bina Vatzilus, comparison to our Chachman Bina Vatzilus, our Chachman Bina, incomparable. So what we're connecting with is our Chachman Bina, connecting to the idea, but we're affecting the Chachman Bina of Vatzilus. Sharei Klalus Ishtalshalus Lei Nivra El Mechinas Hey Achrena. Because think about the whole Seder Ishtalshalus, the whole worlds and all the nature and everything that exists and all these higher worlds from Atzilus and down, all created with the last Hey. Ubiyud Nivra El Mhaba, and with the Yud was created the world to come. Shehu Tashlum Schar Yidev Nikia. This is the completion, the payment for the reward for all the effort that we put in, but that was nikia, clean, without the arrogance. Bishat nafshay shemisyaher harei hu pegem biyudke. And when we do our veda, but we do it contemptuously, so that affects it. And essentially what he's saying is, in very simple, we got to go, but it's very simply saying that what we do, that if we have arrogance and we affect and we cause problems, so we should make sure not to have arrogance. Again, like we said before, just to finish up, that the arrogance we're talking about, there's different types of arrogance. There's arrogance where you walk around showing off to everyone and belittling people and trying to show you know everything. That's the arrogance we're talking about is a problem. But if you have an arrogance that you think you're very good at doing something and that causes you to do more and push yourself, that's good. That's healthy. That's nothing wrong. That's perfect. We should all have that arrogance. We should all think we're very good. And like I said before, when a kid is in school and they have that self-confidence, they think they can do it, that arrogance is very healthy. And it's not really arrogance. And this is not the arrogance we're talking about. Remember, we're talking about the arrogance of walking around thinking you're better than everyone else and acting like you're better than everyone else and making sure everyone knows you're better than everyone else. And that's the unhealthy, even though it could be true. But doing that is destroys all your good efforts. Anyway, everyone should have an amazing day. We should have good, healthy arrogance. And we should accomplish way above and beyond our wildest expectations. We should be proud of ourselves. Have a great day.